Hey folks, just having my coffee this morning and was looking at some of maybe the forum posts or some of the answers on the quizzes and things like that, and noticed that it seems like feedback loops are giving you some trouble. So just I want to take a few minutes here and talk about them. First, there's two major types: negative and positive feedback. Negative feedback would be the way most the way most of your body systems are regulated. So negative feedback, and I'm using your PowerPoints here. So the way to think about negative feedback is the way your house controls its temperature. So maybe right now you've switched and you've got the air conditioner on. So maybe you set the air conditioner for 70 or 72, and when the temperature in the house gets above that, the thermostat turns on the AC and brings the temperature back down. Right? That's a negative feedback. So anything that brings or changes the direction of the stimulus, right? So if you turn your heat on, set your heat at 72, when the temperature gets below that, the heat comes on and it brings the temperature back up. Same thing with your body. As your body temperature gets too high, you start to sweat. Why? So that sweat will evaporate and bring your temperature back down. That's a negative feedback. If body temperature was controlled by positive feedback, as you got hotter, your body would do things to make it get hotter, right? And obviously that's not compatible with life, right? So you need to maintain a regular, 98.6 degrees or 37C. That's where you need to be. So negative feedback loops, the way to think about them is they change the direction of the stimulus. So if you're getting too hot, it brings you back down. If you're getting too cold, maybe it makes you shiver, right? Or it constricts your blood vessels. So it brings all the blood back to your core so that it can help change the direction and stop you from getting too cold, right? Those are negative feedbacks. Positive feedbacks are a little less common. Positive feedbacks are things that have very specific endpoints, right? So for instance, childbirth is controlled by positive feedback. And the endpoint of childbirth is the child is born, right? That's a very definitive thing. So with childbirth, the way it works is you get a contraction. Contraction causes oxytocin to be produced in the brain. Oxytocin causes more contractions, which causes more oxytocin, which causes more contractions. And so you can see how that can just go and go and go until the child is born. That's also one of the reasons that you don't want a really, really prolonged labor, right? Because those contractions just increase. And that's not a good idea. So negative feedback loops positive feedback loops can be dangerous. If they're not controlled and they get too out of hand. And so that's almost counter to what some of you are mentioning in maybe the forums or your short answers or things like that. The tendency is to think of them as good and bad, right? Positive and negative, don't associate those with good and bad. You need both positive and negative feedback loops. They're both good unless something bad happens to them, right? So negative feedback loops change the direction of the stimulus. So think about getting too hot, you sweat, you get colder. Positive feedback loops take that stimulus and keep going with it, right? So again, example of child labor. And there's other examples of positive feedback loops, and you can look them up. But just wanted to touch base with you there on that. If you have any questions, let me know.